contrast to actions performed with desire or ego. Those who understand the true nature of action and inaction, who act with detachment and selflessness, are considered truly wise. This leads to one of the most subtle and profound teachings of the Gita. He who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men. 4.8. It points to the paradoxical truth that even when engaged in intense activity, a person can remain inactive, while someone appearing inactive may still be driven by inner desires and mental agitation. The role of sacrifice, yajna. Krishna introduces the idea of various forms of yajnas, not just ritualistic fire sacrifices, but also intellectual, sensory, breath, austerity, and knowledge-based sacrifices. All of these aim to purify the mind and elevate consciousness. However, the highest sacrifice, he says, is the sacrifice of knowledge, where the ego and ignorance are offered up, and the self is illumined by the light of truth. Better than material sacrifice is the sacrifice of knowledge, for all actions culminate in knowledge. 4.33. This reinforces the idea that spiritual understanding is key to liberation, more than mere mechanical performance of rituals or duties. The role of the guru and the path to wisdom. Krishna emphasizes the necessity of approaching a guru, spiritual teacher, with humility, service, and inquiry. The guru, established in truth, helps dispel ignorance and reveal the self. He assures Arjuna that once a person attains true knowledge, he no longer doubts, even in the face of life's challenges. His karma no longer binds him. Just as a blazing fire reduces wood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn all karma to ashes. The person who is steadfast, devoted, and self-controlled attains knowledge, and with it, supreme peace. Arjuna is urged to rise with clarity. The chapter concludes with Krishna encouraging Arjuna to rise with faith and clarity, to cut through the doubt that clouds the heart with the sword of knowledge, and to stand up for his dharma with renewed insight. 1. Divine origin of the Gita's wisdom. Krishna reveals that the teachings of the Gita are timeless and eternal, handed down through divine channels. He appears not merely as a teacher, but as God himself, the source of all dharma. 2. Incarnation and divine intervention. Krishna's role as an avatar illustrates how the divine manifests to uplift humanity, reaffirming the spiritual law that God never abandons creation in times of crisis. 3. Knowledge is liberation. Knowledge is seen as the highest purifier. Right understanding transforms karma into a path to liberation, rather than bondage. 4. Action with detachment. Acting in the world without attachment to the results leads to freedom. The wise live with a sense of inner detachment and presence, making no karmic entanglements. 5. Guru and grace. The importance of a teacher who can impart knowledge and dissolve doubts is emphasized. One must approach such a guide with humility, respect, and the desire to learn. Conclusion. Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita deepens the philosophical foundation laid earlier. It merges action, karma yoga, with wisdom, jnana yoga, showing how enlightened action, free from ego and desire, leads to spiritual liberation. It sets the stage for further exploration of disciplined action and inner renunciation, which continues into Chapter 5. Certainly, here's a detailed and insightful note on Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Karma Sannyasa Yoga of Renunciation of Action. This chapter explores the relationship between renunciation, sannyasa, and selfless action, karma yoga, and how both can lead to liberation when performed with the right understanding. Chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation of action. Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita addresses a fundamental spiritual dilemma. Is it better to renounce all action, or to perform action with detachment? This is the question with which Arjuna opens the chapter, seeking clarity from Lord Krishna. The chapter consists of 29 verses and brings together key ideas from the earlier chapters, aiming to harmonize the two major spiritual paths: renunciation, sannyasa, and disciplined action, karma yoga, and ultimately to reveal that both can lead to the same spiritual realization when practiced with wisdom. Renunciation versus action, which is superior? In the opening verses, Krishna answers Arjuna's question by saying that both karma sannyasa, renunciation of actions, and karma yoga, yoga of action, lead to liberation, moksha. However, he asserts that karma yoga is the superior path for most seekers. Renunciation and yoga of action both lead to the highest goal, but of the two, karma yoga is superior to renunciation of action. 5.2. Why? Because renunciation, without the maturity of mind and inner detachment, can lead to escapism or suppression of desires. In contrast, karma yoga, when performed selflessly and without attachment to the results, purifies the mind and gradually leads to the same inner renunciation and wisdom that sannyasa intends. True renunciation. Inner detachment. Krishna redefines renunciation. He explains that the true sannyasi is not merely one who gives up external actions, but one who performs all duties without clinging to the fruits, without ego or selfish desire. Such a person acts as an instrument of the divine. He who neither hates nor desires, who is beyond dualities, is easily freed from bondage. This teaching is revolutionary. It tells us that we can live actively in the world, fulfilling our responsibilities, and yet remain inwardly free like a monk, as long as we cultivate non-attachment and equanimity. The wise see oneness in all beings. A central theme of this chapter is equality and non-duality. Krishna describes the vision of a jnani, knower of the self, a person who sees the divine self, Atman, equally in all beings. The wise see the same in a brahmana endowed with learning and humility, in a cow, an elephant, a dog, and even in a dog-eater, outcast. 5.18. Such a sage sees beyond physical and social distinctions, perceiving the unchanging essence in all forms. This spiritual vision of unity leads to peace and unconditional compassion. Liberation through knowledge and detachment. Krishna elaborates on how one can attain Brahman realization, union with the Supreme Reality, through detachment and equanimity. The person who is free from attachment, balanced in pleasure and pain, and focused inwardly, is fit for liberation. Those whose minds are established in equanimity, who are free from delusion and selfishness even while acting, are not bound by karma. 5.7. He introduces the idea of mental renunciation, acting without internal involvement. For such a person, there is no anxiety or pride, no craving or aversion. Their actions are pure and selfless, performed only as offerings to the divine. Inner peace and the path to Brahman. Krishna describes the peace that comes from inner purity and self-knowledge. This peace is not dependent on external circumstances, but arises from contentment, control of senses, and freedom from desire. The one who is unattached to external sense pleasures joy in the self. Such a person, united with Brahman, enjoys endless bliss. 5.21. He speaks of the yogi's life as one of joy, stillness, and inner clarity. By turning inward, meditating, and mastering the senses, one enters into the stillness of Brahman, where there is neither doing nor doer, only pure existence. Final vision. The bliss of liberation. The chapter ends on a profoundly uplifting note. Krishna describes the supreme goal as attaining Brahman, the eternal, pure, infinite consciousness. The one who realizes Brahman is free from anger and selfish desires, controls the mind and senses, knows themselves as the self in all beings, dwells in constant bliss. He who is happy within, who rejoices within, and who is illumined within, that yogi becomes Brahman and attains liberation. 5.24. Such a person is liberated while living, a jivanmukh free from fear, sorrow, and duality. They live in the world but are not of the world. Key themes of Chapter 5. 1. Harmony of paths. Both renunciation, sannyasa, and selfless action, karma yoga, can lead to liberation when practiced with wisdom, but karma yoga is more accessible and effective for most people. 2. Redefinition of renunciation. True renunciation is internal. It is not about leaving the world, but about letting go of attachment, ego, and craving. 3. Unity of all life. The vision of a wise person is one of oneness. They see the divine self in all beings, beyond caste, species, or social status. 4. Liberation through detachment and knowledge. By acting selflessly, with a calm mind and spiritual knowledge, one is not bound by karma and attains inner peace. 5. Brahman, the supreme state. The goal is realization of Brahman, the absolute truth. It is the state of eternal joy, stillness, and unity, free from all dualities. Conclusion, Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, is a powerful integration of two seemingly different paths, renunciation and action. Krishna gently guides Arjuna and us to understand that living in the world without being bound by it is not only possible, but is the ideal path. Through knowledge, detachment, and devotion, we can perform all our duties and still attain the supreme freedom of the soul. This chapter sets the spiritual tone for deeper practices of meditation and inner absorption, which Krishna will unfold in Chapter 6, Jnana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. Would you detailed explanation of Chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. Overview. Chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita focuses on meditation jhana as a spiritual path leading to self-realization. Krishna explains how a true yogi lives, how to meditate, the discipline required, and the benefits of yoga. This chapter integrates the teachings of karma yoga and jnana yoga, showing that meditation is both a continuation and a culmination of these paths. It consists of 47 verses and can be divided into key themes. The true yogi and the spirit of renunciation, verses 1 to 9. Krishna begins by explaining who is truly a yogi, not one who simply renounces action, but one who performs duty without attachment. A person who acts without desire for the fruits of their labor is both a karma yogi and a renunciate sannyasi. He who performs his duty without depending on the results is a true renouncer and yogi. He also explains the evolution of the yogi, from someone dependent on actions towards stillness and meditation as a higher spiritual practice. A yogi regards friends and enemies, the good and bad, with equal mind, a sign of spiritual maturity. Preparation and practice of meditation, verses 10 to 17. Here, Krishna gives very practical advice on how to meditate. One should practice in solitude, with control over the mind and body, and free from desires and possessions. A proper seat, asana, should be used, clean, firm, not too high or too low. The posture should be steady, with the body, neck, and head aligned. The gaze should be fixed at the point of the nose, not out of superstition, but to still the wandering senses. With mind controlled and free from fear, established in the vow of celibacy, one should meditate on me with an undistracted mind. Krishna warns against extremes. Neither too much indulgence nor harsh asceticism supports true yoga. Balance in eating, sleeping, working, and recreation is essential. The goal and effects of meditation, verses 18 to 32. As meditation deepens, the yogi detaches from external distractions and turns inward, attains peace, purity, and joy that surpass ordinary happiness, realizes the self, which is unchanging, eternal, and blissful, eventually sees the divine presence in all beings, and all beings in the divine. The yogi whose self is in harmony, who sees the self in all beings, and all beings in the self, sees the same everywhere. 6.29. This vision of oneness, universal consciousness, is the true fruit of meditation and the mark of an enlightened yogi. Such a person remains equanimous in pain and pleasure, gain and loss. 4. The fall and rise of the yogi, verses 33 to 45. Arjuna then raises a doubt. What happens to a sincere seeker who fails in meditation due to lack of discipline or distraction? Does such a person get lost? Krishna answers with assurance. Such a person does not perish. They are reborn in a righteous or spiritual family. They continue their spiritual journey from where they left off, driven by past impressions, samskaras. Eventually, they are drawn back to the path of yoga and attain liberation. By virtue of the impressions of previous births, he is automatically carried forward, even against his will. This gives immense hope. No spiritual effort is ever wasted. 5. The Supreme Yogi, verse 46-47. Krishna concludes with a comparison. A yogi is greater than an ascetic, greater than the scholar, gnani, greater than the one performing rituals. Of all yogis, he who with faith worships me, with mind absorbed in me, is the most united with me in yoga. 6.47. Here, Krishna guides Arjuna toward bhakti, devotion, showing that the highest yogi is one who meditates on the personal divine form with love and devotion, combining jnana, karma, and bhakti into one path. Key themes and takeaways. 1. Meditation as a discipline. Yoga is not just physical postures, but a way of life, inner stillness, and spiritual clarity. 2. Balance and moderation. True yoga avoids extremes. Spiritual growth requires balance in daily habits and emotions. 3. Inclusiveness of the path. Everyone can walk the path of meditation, regardless of prior experience. Even partial efforts bear fruit. 4. The power of devotion. Krishna introduces bhakti subtly, showing that love for the divine deepens and completes the practice of yoga. 5. Spiritual equality and oneness. The yogi's realization of oneness with all beings is the essence of enlightenment. Conclusion. Chapter 6 elevates the discussion from outer action to inner realization. It defines what a yogi is. Not someone who escapes the world, but one who lives with inner peace, sees unity in diversity, and acts with love and balance. Krishna's teachings blend practical steps with deep metaphysical insight, making dhyana yoga a timeless guide for seekers of all levels. Of course, here's a detailed explanation of Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Chapter 7, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, the Yoga of Knowledge and Wisdom. Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita shift in tone and depth. After discussing various yogas such as karma, action, jnana, knowledge, and dhyana, meditation, Lord Krishna now begins to reveal his own essential nature more directly and expansively. This chapter is considered part of the Jnana Yoga section, chapters 7 to 12, where bhakti, devotion, starts to become a central theme, intertwined with knowledge and realization. It comprises 30 verses, and its aim is to deepen Arjuna's understanding of both the supreme truth, paravidya, and the phenomenal world, aparavidya, the knowledge of God, and the experience of union with Him. 1. Knowledge of the Supreme, Jnana and Vijnana. Krishna begins by urging Arjuna to listen attentively, as he is about to impart knowledge that goes beyond ordinary understanding. With this knowledge, nothing more remains to be known in this world. 7.2. Jnana is theoretical or scriptural knowledge. Vijnana is realized knowledge, direct, experiential wisdom. Krishna emphasizes that very few people strive to attain this kind of wisdom, and among thousands, only a rare few truly know him in his totality. 2. Krishna as the source of all. Krishna now reveals that he is the source and substance of all that exists, both material and spiritual. He lists the eightfold nature of his lower, material energy: earth, prithvi, water, fire, tejas, air, vayu, ether, akasha, minus, intellect, buddhi, ego, ahankara. These represent the gross and subtle elements that constitute all of creation. But beyond these, Krishna says, there is a higher energy, the living beings themselves, Jiva Buddha, which sustain and animate the material world. I am the origin and dissolution of the entire universe, 7.6. This statement introduces Krishna as both immanent and transcendent. He pervades all, yet exists beyond all. Yajnastraya 3. The deluded cannot see the divine. Despite his all-pervading nature, Krishna explains why people do not recognize him. They are deluded by Maya, illusion, his divine power that veils reality. This Maya is made up of the 3 gunas, modes of material nature: sattva, purity, harmony; rajas, passion, activity; tamas, darkness, inertia. These modes bind the soul to the cycle of birth and death and obscure the vision of the divine. Hence, only those who surrender to Krishna can cross beyond the veil of Maya. 4 types of devotees. Krishna then classifies 4 types of devaktas who approach him. 1. Artharthi, the seeker of wealth or material benefit. 2. Arta, the one in distress or suffering. 3. Jinasu, the curious inquirer seeking knowledge. 4. Gnani, the wise one, who seeks the self and knows God. Among these, Krishna praises the Jnani the most, the one who worships him with unwavering devotion and sees him as the supreme goal. The wise one is my very self. 7.8. However, he assures that all 4 types of devotees are noble and dear to him, as they have taken the first steps toward spirituality. 5. The problem of misplaced worship. Krishna addresses why people worship other deities or forces, even though he is the ultimate source of all divine power. Those whose desires are fueled by material motives may worship various gods or powers according to their nature. Krishna grants their faith and their desires are fulfilled, but those results are temporary and limited. Those who worship other gods with faith actually worship me, but in an improper manner, 723. This clarifies a crucial spiritual point. All worship reaches Krishna, but only those who worship him with pure knowledge and devotion attain him completely and eternally. Krishna is the supreme goal. Krishna lists aspects of his divine manifestations. I am the taste in water, the light of the sun and moon, the syllable Om in the Vedas, 7.8. He further adds, among beings he is life itself. Among the strong, he is strength without desire or attachment. In all that is pure and sacred, Krishna is the essence. This reveals God in all aspects of the natural and moral order. A deep panentheistic vision, God in everything and beyond everything. Verse 7, the rare attainment of true devotion. In the closing verses, Krishna explains that many people cling to finite pleasures and worldly goals, but only a rare soul, after many lifetimes of spiritual practice and purification, recognizes him as the supreme cause and all in all. After many births, the wise one comes to me, realizing Vasudeva is all. Such a great soul is very rare. He encourages Arjuna to go beyond desires, beyond transient gains, and to take full refuge in him. Key themes of Chapter 7. 1. Integration of knowledge and devotion. Krishna now blends philosophy with bhakti, suggesting that true knowledge is incomplete without devotion, and vice versa. 2. God is immanent and transcendent. Krishna is the material and the spiritual, the cause and the effect, the visible and the invisible. This is a key Vedantic teaching. 3. Maya and the gunas. The world's illusion arises due to the three modes of nature. Only by surrendering to Krishna can one transcend them. 4. Divine grace and rare realization. While many seek God for worldly reasons, the wise one seeks only God. Such a soul is rare and deeply loved by the divine. Conclusion. Chapter 7 marks a powerful theological and spiritual revelation in the Gita. Krishna unveils himself as the absolute reality, the source of all existence, and the ultimate refuge. He teaches that while many may begin the journey to God for personal reasons, the highest goal is to know him as the all-pervading divine, to love him not for what he can give, but for who he is. This chapter thus serves as a turning point in the Gita's narrative, shifting the seeker from external action and analysis to inward devotion and direct experience of the divine. Here's a detailed and clear explanation of Chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, the Yoga of the Imperishable Absolute. Chapter 8 is a deeply spiritual discourse where Krishna reveals profound truths about the nature of Brahman, the supreme reality, the eternal soul, the power of remembrance at death, and the paths leading to liberation. This chapter comprises 28 verses and is framed around Arjuna's sincere questions about the soul, karma, and ultimate destiny. 1. Arjuna's 7 questions, verse 1 to 2. The chapter begins with Arjuna asking 7 crucial spiritual questions. What is Brahman? What is the self, Adhyatma? What is karma? What is the material manifestation, Adibhuta? What is the divine principle, Adidaiva? What is sacrifice, Adiyajna? And how is it present in the body? And how is it realized at the time of death? These are deep philosophical inquiries meant to understand not just life, but what happens at the moment of death, a critical moment in Hindu philosophy, believed to affect the soul's journey forward. Krishna's answers. Definitions of spiritual terms. Krishna gives brief but profound definitions. Brahman, the imperishable supreme reality, beyond all dualities, verse 3. Adhyatma, the individual self or spiritual consciousness residing in the body. Karma, the action that sustains the creation and causes rebirth. Adibhuta, the perishable physical world, including the body and all material forms. The cosmic intelligence, or the supreme consciousness governing all beings, often linked with Ishvara. Adhyatma, the supreme Lord, Krishna himself, dwelling in the heart of all beings, the inner witness of all sacrifice. The importance of the moment of death. This is one of the central teachings of the chapter. Whoever remembers me at the time of death, he attains my nature without doubt. 8.5. Krishna emphasizes that the final thought at the time of death determines the soul's next destination. Hence, it is vital to live life in a way that one remembers God constantly, so that at the final moment, the mind naturally turns to Him. He adds, whatever one remembers at the end of life, that alone one attains because of being always absorbed in that. 8.6. This underscores the power of habitual remembrance, smarana, and consistent focus in spiritual practice. The yogic path to the Supreme. Krishna outlines how a devoted yogi, through practice of meditation, breath control, pranayama, and focus on the divine syllable Om, can consciously depart the body and reach the eternal realm, beyond rebirth. Meditating on the Supreme Person with a steady mind and devotion, one attains Him. The yogi brings the life force upwards through the energy centers, chakras, fixing the mind on Krishna, chanting Om, the sacred sound symbolizing the Absolute. 5. The eternal abode. Krishna speaks of the imperishable spiritual world, Paramdhamma, often called Vaikuntha or Goloka, where souls live in eternal union with the divine. This abode is not lit by sun, moon, or fire, beyond the cycles of creation and destruction, the destination of those who attain Him. Having reached me, they do not return to this temporary world of suffering. 8.15. This contrasts with the material universe, where beings are trapped in the cycle of birth and death, samsara. 6. The cycles of creation and dissolution. Krishna explains the cosmic timeline. A day of Brahma lasts 4.32 billion years, during which the universe exists. A night of Brahma lasts the same, during which it dissolves. This cycle continues eternally. All beings are subject to this cycle, appearing and disappearing with the cosmos, except those who attain the Supreme, who transcend time itself. 7. The two paths after death. Krishna now introduces a dual path framework for the soul after death. 1. The bright path, Archareti Marga, for the wise and spiritually realized, leads directly to liberation, associated with fire, light, the sun, and knowledge. No return to birth. 2. The dark path, Dumrati Marga, for those attached to material pursuits and rituals, leads to rebirth, associated with smoke, night, and ignorance. These two paths, bright and dark, are considered eternal. One leads to liberation, the other to rebirth. 8.26. This echoes the Upanishadic idea that spiritual evolution determines post-death trajectory. 8. The great secret of devotion. In the closing verses, Krishna reiterates that the devotee who sincerely worships Him with unwavering faith, regardless of when or how death comes, attains the Supreme. He encourages Arjuna, therefore, at all times remember me and fight. With mind and intellect fixed on me, you shall surely come to me. 8.7. This verse beautifully combines devotion with action, karma, the ideal balance the Gita teaches. Key themes of Chapter 8. 1. Remembrance at death. Final thoughts at death determine the soul's next journey. Hence, constant spiritual focus throughout life is essential. 2. Conscious dying. The advanced yogi prepares for death with awareness, breathing techniques, mantra repetition, Om, and meditation on God. 3. Imperishable Brahman. Krishna is the changeless, eternal principle that transcends both matter and time. 4. Paths after death. The soul may take different routes depending on its inner state, but devotion guarantees ultimate liberation. 5. Devotion as supreme path. Even above complex rituals or techniques, Krishna emphasizes wholehearted remembrance and surrender as the key to salvation. Conclusion. Chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, is a profound exploration of death, rebirth, and immortality. It offers deep metaphysical insights while giving practical spiritual instructions on how to live and die with awareness, devotion, and freedom. It answers existential questions about what lies beyond life and provides the reassuring promise that those who sincerely remember God will never be lost. In the Gita's flow, this chapter transitions beautifully into Chapter 9, where Krishna reveals even greater secrets of his inner nature and the power of pure devotion. A detailed explanation of Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Chapter 9, Raja Vidya, Rajaguhya Yoga, the Yoga of Royal Knowledge and Royal Secret. Chapter 9 is one of the most important and beloved chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. It reveals the highest form of knowledge, Raja Vidya, and the deepest spiritual secret, Rajaguhya. This knowledge, Krishna says, leads directly to liberation when practiced with faith and devotion. This chapter consists of 34 verses, and it is filled with both majestic metaphysics and heart-melting promises of divine love. Rule 1. The Royal Knowledge and Supreme Secret. Krishna begins by declaring, I shall now declare to you, Arjuna, the most secret knowledge, the king of sciences and the king of secrets. 9.1. He explains that this knowledge is pure, can be directly experienced, is easy to practice, and destroys ignorance completely. But Krishna also warns that those who lack faith cannot grasp it, even if they're otherwise intelligent. 2.2. Krishna's all-pervading presence. In one of the most profound philosophical declarations, Krishna says, By me all this world is pervaded. All beings rest in me, but I do not rest in them. This is a key Vedantic concept, then. God is immanent, present within everything, and also transcendent, beyond everything. He elaborates, though he supports all of creation, he remains unattached. Creation is like wind resting in space. Everything exists in him, but he is untouched. 3. The cosmic cycle of creation. Krishna reveals that, at the end of a cosmic cycle, kalpa, all beings return into his nature. At the beginning of a new cycle, he recreates them. This happens automatically through his prakriti, nature, under divine supervision. Yet he remains unbound by action. Even though he is the cause of all, he remains a silent witness, beyond karma. Now 4. Human ignorance and divine delusion. Krishna points out a tragedy of human life. Fools deride me when I descend in human form, not knowing my higher reality as the Lord of all beings. 9-11. People who are deluded by ego and desire fail to recognize the divinity in human form. This is a reference to Krishna's own incarnation, Avatara. Those who worship only for selfish gain remain bound by the cycle of birth and death. 5. The nature of devotion. Now comes the heart of the chapter. Krishna begins to glorify devotion as the highest spiritual path. But those who worship me with love, they are in me and I am in them. 9.29. He declares, he treats all beings equally. He has no favorites. Yet, those who worship him with love become especially close to him. This leads to one of the most hopeful and inclusive verses in the entire Gita. Even if the most sinful person worships me with unwavering devotion, he must be regarded as righteous, for he has rightly resolved. This means that no past karma can disqualify someone from divine grace. The only requirement is sincere devotion. 6. The simplicity of surrender. In a beautiful and accessible teaching, Krishna tells Arjuna, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I accept it. 9.26. This verse removes all barriers to worship. You don't need rituals, wealth, or priesthood. Pure love and a sincere heart are all that matter. Krishna continues, whatever you do, eat, give, or sacrifice, do it as an offering to me. 9.27. Acting this way purifies one from the bonds of karma. Act 7. Equal access to God. Krishna opens the doors of divine grace to all people, regardless of gender, birth, or social status. Women, Vaishyas, merchants, Shudras, laborers, and others born of sinful origin, all can attain the supreme goal if they take refuge in me. 9.32. This was a revolutionary declaration at the time, dismantling social prejudices with spiritual truth. 8. The final assurance, the promise of God. Krishna ends this chapter with one of the most famous and comforting verses in the entire Gita. Abandon all forms of dharma and simply surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sin. Do not fear. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, surrender, as the highest spiritual practice. God promises complete protection to the devotee who gives himself fully. Summary of key teachings in Chapter 9, theme essence, royal knowledge, supreme secret wisdom that leads to liberation, God's nature, all-pervading yet unattached, both immanent and transcendent. Cosmic creation. Beings cycle through creation and dissolution under Krishna's control. The highest path, simple, pure love is enough. Inclusiveness. Everyone, regardless of past, can attain the supreme through devotion. Divine assurance. Krishna promises liberation to those who surrender fully. Conclusion. Chapter 9 is the soul of the Gita's philosophy. It combines profound metaphysics with a loving personal God. Krishna presents himself not only as the absolute reality, but also as the compassionate friend who seeks the devotee's heart. It is both a revelation and an invitation. Krishna opens his arms to all, asking for nothing but love, faith, and surrender. In return, he offers eternal peace and liberation. Would you like to continue to Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, the Yoga of Divine Glories, next? Let's dive into Chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, the Yoga of Divine Glories. This chapter is a magnificent revelation where Lord Krishna reveals his divine manifestations, the extraordinary ways in which the Supreme Being expresses himself in the world. It inspires awe, reverence, and deep devotion by showing how God is present in the most powerful, beautiful, and majestic aspects of creation. Chapter 10 contains 42 verses and continues the path of Bhakti Yoga, devotion that began in the previous chapters, particularly Chapter 9. 1. Krishna declares his divine majesty, verses 1-3. Krishna opens with a powerful declaration. Listen to me again, Arjuna. I will tell you further about my supreme words out of compassion for you, 10.1. He says that he is the origin of all gods and sages. Those who know him as unborn and beginningless become free from delusion and sin. Knowing the true divine nature of Krishna is a path to liberation. 2. The source of all qualities and beings, verses 4-6. Krishna reveals that all mental qualities and emotions, like intellect, wisdom, non-attachment, truth, forgiveness, fear, courage, compassion, fame, infamy, all arise from him. Even the 7 great sages, Saptarishis, and the 4 ancient Manas were born from his mind and will, and they shaped all of creation. In other words, he is the source of everything. 3. The wise devotees, verses 7-11. Krishna beautifully describes the nature of his true devotees. Those who know me as the origin of all worship me with love and devotion, 10.8. He explains how these devotees constantly think of him, talk about him, find joy in him alone. To such sincere devotees, Krishna gives Buddhi Yoga, the divine intelligence by which they come to me, 10.10. And then he says something very profound and personal. Out of compassion, I dwell in their hearts and destroy the darkness of ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge, 10.11. This shows the intimacy between the divine and the devotee. Krishna is not a distant God. He lives in the heart of the one who loves him. 4. Arjuna's awe and request, verses 12-18. After hearing all this, Arjuna is overwhelmed with reverence. He acknowledges Krishna as the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Abode, the eternal, divine, unborn Lord, the first of gods and the origin of all beings. He then asks, "Tell me in detail of your divine glories by which you pervade all these worlds." Arjuna wants to deeply meditate on Krishna by understanding his divine manifestations in the world. Krishna lists his divine vibhutis, verses 19-42. Now begins one of the most poetic and majestic sections of the Gita. Krishna says, I shall now declare to you my divine glories, the most prominent ones, for there is no end to my manifestations. He then lists his presence in the best, brightest, and most powerful of things. Here are some highlights. If you see, that is me, the soul in all beings. I am that. Among Adityas I am Vishnu. Among lights I am the radiant sun. Among Marut's wind gods I am Samaveda. Among gods I am Indra. Among senses I am the mind. Among elements I am water. Among sacrifices, I am japa, chanting of God's name. Among trees, I am a sacred fig. Among sages, a weapon, the thunderbolt. Among lakes, I am the ocean. Among great beings, I am time. Among animals, I am the lion. Among birds, I am Garuda. Among serpents, I am Vasuki. Among purifiers, I am the wind. I am the ruler. Among secrets, I am silence. Among creators, I am Brahma. And finally, Krishna says, I am the seed of all beings. There is no being, moving or unmoving, that exists without me. 6. A powerful reminder, verse 42. Krishna concludes, But what need is there, Arjuna, for this detailed knowledge? I pervade and support this entire universe with a single fraction of myself. This mind-blowing statement implies that all creation, with its infinite diversity and beauty, is just a tiny part of God's true power. Key teachings from Chapter 10. Theme, essence. Divine glory, Vibhuti. God is present in all greatness, beauty, and power. Path of bhakti. Devotion leads to direct connection with God. Krishna's compassion. He personally guides sincere devotees from within. Meditation on Vibhutish. Helps focus the mind on God in daily life. All-pervasiveness. Everything exists within him, yet he transcends all. Act practical reflection. If we learn to see the divine in all greatness, in the rising sun, the deep ocean, the noble leader, the brave lion, or even a wise thought, we begin to meditate on God everywhere. This awareness helps us grow in devotion and transforms ordinary perception into spiritual vision. Conclusion. Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, lifts us into a cosmic vision where everything majestic and meaningful is a glimpse of the divine. It helps the seeker recognize that God is not far away, but shines through all the wonders of creation. Krishna's message is, if you love me, you will see me everywhere. Ready for Chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, the yoga of the vision of the universal form? That one takes us on an extraordinary, divine, visual journey. Let me know, and I'll continue. Chapter 11. Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, the yoga of the vision of the universal form. This is one of the most dramatic and powerful chapters in the entire Bhagavad Gita. It contains 55 verses and describes an extraordinary moment when Lord Krishna grants Arjuna divine vision, Divya Drishti, to behold his cosmic form Vishwarupa, the universal form of God, beyond human comprehension. This chapter is a spiritual turning point, where devotion, philosophy, and divine power meet in an overwhelming vision of infinity. 1. Arjuna's request for vision, verses 1 to 4. Arjuna begins by praising Krishna's teachings, which have removed his confusion and brought clarity, but now he desires to see Krishna's cosmic form. I have heard from you of your inexhaustible glory. Now, O Lord, I wish to see that cosmic form of yours. 11.3. This is a humble yet bold request, to see the infinite nature of the divine, unfiltered. 2. Krishna grants divine vision, verses 5 to 8. Krishna agrees, saying, Behold, O Arjuna, my hundreds and thousands of forms of various colors and shapes. Behold the entire universe, all in one place, in this body of mine. However, Krishna warns, you cannot see me with your physical eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. 11.8. This is crucial. The true form of God cannot be perceived through ordinary senses, but through spiritual vision. 3. The vision of the universal form, verses 9 to 14. With the divine eyes granted, Arjuna sees infinite faces, arms, and eyes, garlands and ornaments glowing with celestial brilliance, countless beings entering into Krishna's body, the entire universe, gods, sages, and all creation, contained within him. Arjuna is dazzled, overwhelmed, and awestruck. The light of this form is like 1,000 suns rising at once. The poet Sanjaya, who narrates this scene to King Dhritarashtra, says, There, Arjuna saw the entire universe divided into many parts, all gathered together in the body of the God of gods. 4. Arjuna's wonder and praise, verses 15 to 31. Arjuna begins to speak, filled with wonder. He sees Brahma seated on a lotus, the gods entering Krishna with reverence, the terrifying form of death where warriors are being destroyed. He sees Krishna as the eternal origin, support of the universe, the imperishable, the abode of all. But soon, joy turns to fear. Arjuna now sees Krishna's terrible aspect: huge blazing mouths, fierce teeth, countless warriors, including Bhishma, Drona, Karna, rushing into his jaws, being crushed. Arjuna cries out, "Who are you in this terrible form? I bow to you. Please have mercy." 11.5. Krishna as Time the Destroyer, verse 32. Now comes one of the most famous verses in the entire Gita. "I am Time, Kala, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people." 11.32. Krishna explains that regardless of Arjuna's actions, all the warriors on the battlefield are already doomed. He encourages Arjuna, "Arise and fight. You are only an instrument, nimitta matra, of my divine plan." 11.33. This moment teaches that the divine will is always at work, and humans are merely channels through which that will unfolds. 6. Arjuna's total surrender, verses 35 to 46. Arjuna, shaken to the core, bows in devotion and terror. He now truly realizes Krishna is not just a charioteer or friend. He is Brahman, Ishvara, Vishnu, the source of creation and destruction. In deep humility, Arjuna begs forgiveness. "Forgive me, O Lord, for calling you Krishna, Yadava, friend, unaware of your greatness." 11.41. "I bow down to you from front, behind, all around. You are all that is." This moment is pure surrender, bhakti in its most authentic form. The return to gentle form, verses 47 to 50. Krishna reveals that no one has seen this cosmic form before, not through Vedas, rituals, penance, or charity. He says, "Only by single-pointed devotion, bhakti, can I be seen in this form." 11.54. At Arjuna's request, Krishna withdraws his terrible form and returns to his gentle four-armed and then human form. Arjuna, relieved and full of gratitude, regains his peace. 8. Final teaching, the power of devotion, verses 55. Krishna concludes the chapter with one of the most beautiful verses on devotion. "He who does all actions for me, regards me as supreme, is devoted to me, free from attachment and enmity. He comes to me." 11.5. This verse captures the essence of Bhakti Yoga. Summary of Chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. Theme, Essence. Divine Vision. Krishna grants Arjuna eyes to see his cosmic form, universal form, infinite, terrifying, beautiful, all creation and destruction, God as Time, Kala, the inevitable force of change and dissolution. Surrender. Arjuna realizes the true divinity of Krishna and bows in awe. Role of devotee. Human beings are instruments of the divine plan. Path of bhakti. Only through loving devotion can one know and see God. Final Reflections, Chapter 11, is a vision of God beyond religion, name, or form, a cosmic intelligence that births and absorbs the entire universe. It teaches us, true devotion requires surrender, humility, and faith. Even the terrifying aspects of life, death, change, destruction, are under divine control. God is not only personal and loving, but also unfathomably vast and impersonal. By the end of this chapter, Arjuna's inner transformation is nearly complete. He no longer sees Krishna as merely a friend, but as the Lord of the universe. Ready to continue with Chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, the Yoga of Devotion? It's a sweet return to the heart after this epic vision. Let me know. Dive into the deeply heartfelt and beautiful. Chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, the Yoga of Devotion. This chapter, containing 20 verses,